Okay, for our next secrets of the scales, we're going to go to the harmonic minor mode. Now I'm beginning with the accidentals for the the natural minor mode, and I'll show you how one differs from the other. So the harmonic minor mode is like the natural minor mode, with the exception of a raised 7th scale degree. So it's T. So let's cue up the natural minor mode. Oops, excuse me. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, le. And before we had te, but now it's ti, do, ti, le, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Again, do, re, mi, fa, sol, le, ti, do, ti, le, sol, fa, mi, re, do. It was a lot of tune on that first big interval. And this is actually one of the difficulties we can have. Now, you may notice that it's called the harmonic minor mode, and for good reason. The reason it's called harmonic minor, it has to do with harmony, of course. The 5 chord, which is sol, ti, and re, being the dominant chord, is often major, and so the 7th scale degree is raised to make it a major dominant chord. But when harmonic minor is encountered in a melody, you have a couple of interesting things. You do have the half-step leading tone relationship, ti-do, like you do with major, which is very interesting. And then you also have the 5th and 6th scale degree, the sol, and le, sol, and also the me, re, me. So you have a number of tendency tones that are active here. And then you have this huge gap right here between le and ti. And let's get that chord again. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, le, ti, do, ti, le, sol, le, ti, do. It's a very large interval. That is an interval of an augmented second, also known as a minor third, just respelled as an augmented second. So when singing a scale like this, you have to be careful to make that interval as large. It's the largest interval you will find in any average, normal, regularly encountered scale. But as for the secrets, some of the secrets we know already from the natural minor, the 3rd and 2nd scale degree relationship and the 5th and 6th scale degree relationship. We know the ti-do, or 7th and 8th scale degree relationship from the major mode. But what is often encountered in a scale like this, because the transition from le to ti as an augmented 2nd interval is so large, it's a little awkward to sing, and it's not very melodic in some ways. You will notice that when you're doing your dictation assignments based on these scales, that I will often avoid that particular interval. So let's look at how these intervals are actually encountered in melodies. Normally we write the harmonic minor scale this way, do to do and back. And that, of course, is easy when we warm up in class and when we learn the scale. It's very easy to do it that way. But the scale itself, as it's encountered, is a little bit more like this. And let me show you. I'm going to write it without a key signature, again, using accidentals. I'm going to put T down here. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, le. This is a different way of writing the scale. I don't complete it to the octave, but this is very often how it's encountered, and this makes a little bit more sense when you think about it. Look at the bottom. Ti, do, and then the top. Le, sol. So we have the relationships, the ti-do relationships, or the half-step relationships, if you will, on the outsides, where we did here, but we're eliminating this very large and awkward augmented 7th gap, and of course here is the other half-step relationship. Now, I'm not suggesting that we sing the scale like this, but very often when you have a melody that makes use of the harmonic minor mode, it will be done this way. The bottom of the melody, do, ti, do, will often reflect back up from ti, do, re, me, fa, sol, fa, me, re, do, and will reflect downward from the sol, le relationship. And so when you have examples, melodic examples using the harmonic minor mode, as you will in your assignment, in your assignments that make use of these modes, you will notice I often treat the melodies in this way. I treat the bottom of the melody ti, and the top of the melody typically le. And if I'm going to cross this divide, this sol-le divide upward, or the ti-do barrier downward, I will usually skip to a major syllable like sol or do, as in the following example. Ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, le, do, ti, do. So I'm eliminating the particularly awkward interval of the augmented second and going right to a very natural and a very familiar tone like do. And we can do the same thing when going down. Do, le, sol, fa, mi, re, do, ti, do, sol, le, sol. So going straight from ti, sol, le, sol, dropping the third there instead of the augmented second interval. Okay, so very rarely melodically will you cross this interval adjacently, unless of course the composer is looking for that specific feel that makes use of that augmented second interval. But that's one of the main and important secrets of the harmonic minor mode.